have never done a video specifically on Paris Milan, and I thought today I would because of some things I've seen in some videos and in multiple people's videos. Because usually I would just leave it alone, I guess. I thought that this was something that was pertinent, especially since I have always felt a specific way towards Paris Milan. Now, Paris Milan has never personally made me feel offended, really honestly. My problem with her is kind of similar in the sense of, I don't like to have black women making black women look bad. That's my issue with her, usually, is more so that part of her. Now, I've seen on different people's channels, people bring up the fact that they think she bleaches. And I'm here to say that she most certainly does not bleach her skin. Paris Milan does not bleach her skin. I know that for a fact. You know how I know that for a fact is because I'm the same color as Paris Milan, basically. Paris Milan and I might be a shade lighter. The thing is, Paris Milan, I believe she said she was in California or lived in California or lives in California currently. I live in Nevada. We live in similar climates, you see. And I understand how it is living in Nevada. One moment, you're really dark. And especially if you work in construction work, you can basically kiss your light brown skin goodbye. Basically. I don't even think when you go back into the winter, will you fully return back to light brown? Do you have enough time? I don't know, really. I really don't know. Especially since in the summer, like in the winter, I mean, people tan out here. They're still tanning. The sun is out 24/7, 365 days a year. We never miss sun up here. So you can basically tan any time of the year. So it's hard to really get back to that color, but sometimes people manage to. And you see, for her, you'll see that she gets lighter and she gets darker. Now, I wouldn't say it might not even be specific to the season because winter kind of it makes you lighter sometimes because it's colder, at least in Nevada, it's colder. So you tan more, even though honestly in the summertime it's so hot that you want to stay in. So it can work both ways, honestly, there. You might actually want to stay in more in the summertime, but point is, there's sometimes you notice that she's lighter and people always think she's bleaching, but that doesn't mean she's bleaching at all. It just means she's a light brown complexion that can tan. I myself have a very similar complexion, and I have the same thing happen to me every summer. And the reason I can tell that she's not bleaching specifically is because for her, you can see when she's dark, I guess you could say dark, her tan is dark. Um, she's not brown, I don't think, when she tans it. But see, she's a bit darker than a brown skinned woman. She's dark skinned when she tans. You can see basically like a chocolate face, and you can see a light body. See, before August, basically, I know for me, the neck and the body, for me, my boobs, my neck, and everything are lighter than my face. Then after August, I start losing my tan around November. My face is lighter, but my neck is darker. But the point is, the bleachers never have a lighter body and a dark face. You see, if they stop taking their pills, bleaching pills, they'll just get darker everywhere, and they get dark quickly too. It's just like 1 second and then done because it's a natural occurrence. It's not an occurrence by the sun. It's not gradually done. Basically, it's done specifically by being done because they're naturally dark skinned. So I know she's not bleaching, and like I said, I've spoken against her on some issues, and I mean, like the way I see her channel is kind of like this. She has some things that she says, and I don't say that I really have against her content specifically, but it's just like when it comes to colorism, that's where I understand where she's coming from, but the what her approach was to her position in colorism is what is working for her. This is how she gets her audience, and she goes by that audience. So sometimes they push her in a certain direction, and therefore she goes in that direction. It was already naturally in her, but it got more exacerbated by her audience. Heck, it pays her bills. I can't blame her for that. But it does look weird when people start saying she should speak for dark skinned women, and she has exactly the same color as Josie, who she was beefing against a while ago. And between her and Josie, I mean, like, okay, so yeah, I wanted to say, I'm sorry, I kind of left off, because my laptop has too much storage and I need to cut some of it out soon. So I'm gonna work on that, but I actually found a way to get more storage, so that's a cool thing. Anyway, um, going back to what I was saying, I feel like here's Milan. You know, she comes from a place where she experiences the problems that black people have with their skin tone on both sides. A lot of the time, with brown skinned women, light brown skinned women specifically, they get picked on by both sides for the same things. See, there's light skinned people who don't like lighter brown skinned people like her. There's dark skinned people that don't like lighter brown skinned people like her. Now, the thing is, many of the time, you'll find that they have to basically pick a side, people always say, right? I've always been of the mentality that how can I pick a side with either side when both sides are trying to be hateful towards me because they hate themselves? Because that's all it generally is that, a lighter skinned person feels like you don't look enough like them to relate. But at the same time, you have your own situation where you aren't treated as if you are dark skinned by the people that they want to get appreciation from. That is the self hating dark skinned black man. So, in that route, you don't have that problem. This is why, specifically, Paris Milan has said in the past he doesn't get the problem with her skin tone. She gets the problem with her lips. She gets the racism. See, the thing is about that is that Uppity Unicorn brought this up about brown skinned women and how many brown skinned women will try to pass for one side or the other side. That's what I mean, um, that's what's her name? Paris Milan does. She passes for, someone who is darker skinned because of her facial features. once she tans, there is no telling her apart from a dark-skinned black woman. So that's how she chose a side, basically. Now, she, like I've said in the past, she tries to benefit off of being lighter. That's another story. I feel like, a major problem that I've had and seen other people complain about with her channel had to do specifically with colorism. And how she basically says, she complains a lot about lighter skinned black women, and she even had a video, like I've said before, that talked poorly about light skinned mixed race women. And, in a deep way, talking about her past and feeling like she was never, light enough to fit with them. And to me, it's like, I think the frustration that she dealt with light skinned women overshadows her frustration she ever had with darker skinned women. Therefore, that's why she sides with darker skinned black women. And people get confused because when they look at her, they'll see that she was basically that she was basically um, of a lighter hue. Sorry, there's a distraction. But they'll say that she's of a lighter hue and she's lighter brown skinned and she doesn't really, fit with the narrative that she's talking about. But that's because she's chosen to speak in the narrative that her audience wants her to speak in. And I've seen other people, like Cynthia G, for example, who, try to take the darker skinned woman's point of view when it comes to this type of topic, Queen Chioma, but you can see, I do think in Cynthia G's case, she was apprehensive to go that way. You can see in the early days when she would talk about colorism, she was apprehensive to really address it. You can tell because her phenotype is more ambiguous. You see, Paris Milan, and that's why I'm bringing up Cynthia G, is to see Paris Milan, I think, is actually a slight bit lighter, or around the same color as Cynthia G. But because of her features, she will take the dark skinned woman's point of view and narrative. She will try to pass as a dark skinned black woman. But she knows she is not a dark skinned black woman. She can keep saying that she's a dark skinned black woman, but in the beginning of her video, she said she was a brown skinned woman. In the beginning of her video, she said she was lighter skinned as a child. So she is naturally a lighter skinned woman. But she will never speak from that point of view because, like I said, the light brown skin experience is not specifically aligning with light skin and it's not specifically aligning with dark skinned women. When these issues come up, many women of her complexion try to avoid it altogether. Or, in her case, they will try to basically take the dark skinned woman narrative to advantage themselves. And like I said, some of what her complaints were, I don't even feel were invalid. I feel that she had an insecurity. Some people that were lighter skinned took advantage of that, and it made it worse for her, exacerbated the situation. When that happens, basically, she focused on light skinned women in that for that reason, basically. I don't really feel that was her problem. I think it was a racial problem, honestly. But that's kind of beside the point. I kind of feel like her experience is probably a unique experience and misunderstood by a lot of different people, basically. And, that's why for me, I relate to her struggle in that sense that I understand her problem. I don't have the same problem as her, but I understand where it all came from and, like, why she's at the point where she's at and has the certain narrative that she has, even though she looks and has a complexion very similar to Josie. That doesn't mean that she's a bleacher just because she has a different perspective. You see, another thing about people who are about Paris Milan's complexion is this. When people look fuller black, like fully black, or when people, for example, wear weave, and you haven't seen their natural hair ever, things like that. When you look like a black person, and Josie looks like a black person too, and she would get accused of the same things. Many of the time, they get accused for bleaching because there's an idea that if you have a lighter skin, and basically like a paper bag, for example, that you must be mixed or you're a black person bleaching. It's the idea that lighter skin comes with white ancestry, which is ignorance on the other person's behalf. So when someone accuses someone of bleaching like that with like Paris Milan and things of that nature, notice that no one who's mixed race gets accused of this. It's only black people who get accused of this. So it's coming from a place of ignorance. It's not coming from a place of reality or a situation that actually has to do with, you know, that has to do with, real evidence that she is a bleacher or that she bleaches her skin. Like I said, I might not agree with her on everything, but I understand how everything came out to be the way it is for her. And I feel like mostly she speaks as a black woman on many issues and tries to translate that as a dark skinned black woman, even though she's not a dark skinned black woman, just because she's not light skinned. And she's always felt she got more hate from light skinned women than dark skinned women. Personally, I know, like for me, I can say I honestly feel like it more jealousy from light skinned women, but I could say there probably is some jealousy from dark skinned women. But to me, I don't know. From my perspective, I think because my approach to dark skinned women is different than light skinned women, for me, from my perspective, I see things differently, basically. So, like, when I see, like, people who are mixed race, in the mixed race phenotype, and I see black people, black women, I tend to think, well, they have their original look, I idolize them. Okay, I wanted to do one other part of this video. This is going to have to do on, I guess you could say, colorism, on Paris Milan, but I was trying to include my perspective on it, and just like, I think from her perspective, like I said, Paris Milan, She wishes she was lighter. She wishes she was mixed race. Kind of similarly to like Cynthia G. Wants to be a white woman. So then she can, I don't know, she wants to be black men. See, they have this kind of fantasy in their head kind of thing going on. Because Cynthia G is being a white woman with a black man. And Paris Milan, I think, is more so being a mixed woman with a black man. You know, a lot of people think that she's mixed, that she looks mixed, that she might be mixed race, and she's with a black man, an African man. And she too has said that she's never been in a racial relationship. She only likes black men, which is fine. I don't have anything against Paris Milan when it comes to um, the whole swirling, divested side. She seems to be very much, maybe if not an ally, somebody who is honestly not an enemy, in my opinion. She doesn't seem like she's problematic. And I've never been offended by her in that regard. I've never been offended by her in colorism. It's just her perspective and wanting to be something else while being a black woman. That has been, deprecating because she's basically representing black women as, feeling inferior, which I have touched upon several times. But all in all, I think the difference is, she has that fantasy. A mixed woman with a black man, preferably a dark-skinned black man. Well, for me, it's more so, I've always wanted to be a darker-skinned black woman, and I don't even prefer dark-skinned black men. I prefer white or light-skinned black men, or mixed men, or Hispanic men. I'm kind of like a rainbow thrower, so I don't understand that. I don't share her feelings in that way, but I do understand where her problem is coming from. So that's all I wanted to say in that video. That I don't think she's coming from a place of being the dark-skinned woman jealous of the light-skinned woman and bleaching to be that light-skinned woman. I think she is just the typical light brown-skinned woman who uses her ability against darker-skinned women to get dark-skinned men, but has always had this experience where among dark-skinned women she's not accepted, and among light-skinned women she's not accepted. So she has to fake it by pretending she's darker skinned so dark skinned women accept her, and she can inflict frustration on lighter skinned women. So that's all I have to say on that. Thanks for watching. Bye.